Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. How was your Christmas? Did you have a good one? Was it Plutonian? Yeah, so I've had a massive download. Well, I've just been downloading really since I finished the Starseed messages. It came pouring in. Yeah, it's just been pouring in since then. So this morning, I had a really deep dive into the Mercury Retrograde, which began a couple of days ago. And the more I dug, the deeper I went. And so what I was sensing in the subtle energies was there's just a bigger story. Yeah, it's Mercury Retrograde. Yeah, communication, signing documents, whatever. But there's just a much, much bigger message here. So I've done an astrological grab. Now, I can't bring it all because the charts for this time just look like someone's vomited on them. They are so complex. But what I've done is I've grabbed all those energy lines that I've been feeling and I've given them some context. And one of the things, guys, I've been playing with for a couple of months now are called Sabian symbols. And so what I've done is I've lifted the message for the Sabian symbol and applied it to the degree point of the current astrology. I'll tell you about Sabian symbols in a moment. And what it's given me is this, so Sabian symbols were channeled and that channeling energy is still in there. So it doesn't even matter about the context or meaning. It's that I was able to kind of ride a wave and pick up different messages. So I've had a beautiful 6 hours. I've been playing with this morning, Capricorn. It's been lovely. So today is New Year's Eve and Happy New Year's Eve. And let's do this. Okay, so we have Mercury retrograde in Capricorn with a Venus and Pluto exact conjunction tomorrow, New Year's Day. It's also worth checking out any sidereal astrology you can lay your hands on because this is all happening in Sagittarius. But the whole wheel is melting. So I wouldn't be too distinct about how you identify because you'll have the whole wheel somewhere in your chart. It will speak to you. And this Mercury retrograde started December the 29th. It's at 24 degrees of Capricorn, and it will last until January the 18th and finish at 8 degrees in Cap, Sag. Sabian symbols were originally channeled by Elsie Wheeler and interpreted by Mark Edmund Jones around the turn of the 20th century. Sabian symbols were created through a collaboration between Mark Edmund Jones, who was an astrologer, I believe he was a doctor as well, and psychic Elsie Wheeler. The channeling assignment of the symbols took place in Balboa Park, San Diego, 1925. Mark Edmund Jones had prepared 360 cards, each marked with a degree of the zodiac before Elsie began the task of channeling. As she described each individual visionary symbol, Mark Edmund Jones shuffled the cards face down before drawing one at random and assigning Elsie's vision to the degree noted on the card. During the course of one day, all 360 symbols had been channeled by Elsie, which is a Herculean effort. It's obviously right timing. All right. Excuse me. So what I've done is I've looked at the conjunction and I've looked at the cluster. Do you remember I said the party's happening in Capricorn. Well, there is a cluster of stuff going on there, which squares a bit over here and it trines a bit over there. So I've brought out these conjunctions and squares and trines. And I've gone through them separately. So let's go into it. So Mercury retrogrades from 24 degrees to 8 degrees. And I wanted to see that whole journey. So when I go to the Sabian symbols for 24 degrees of Capricorn, I get these words. A woman entering a convent, protective kindness of life to weary hearts, quiet undercurrent of real existence, compelled assistance, timely rescue. And the word I got in that was hermit. And feeling into what is here now present, everything seems to have slowed right down. And in that slowing, so that slowing is rubbing up against Jupiter in Aries, which is expanding fire. So we've got this real kind of 13-4 conflict going on. Do I sit with it? Do I push? But the bigger picture is we're dropping the push, drive, strive, have to, got to, should, all of that energy that keeps us out of flow state. And so many of us will be hermiting throughout the Capricorn season until the energy comes in. Okay. And then I go to 8 degrees, the end of the retrograde, and I get birds in the house singing happily. The happiness that radiates from an integrated personality. There's some work being done in that 24 to 8. Firm self-establishment in social comfort or respectability. And again, there's another little mirroring conflict here. What do we have to do to be respectable in social company? It's very Capricornian. I'm seeing Victorian women, piano legs covered up. I'm seeing that kind of repressed expression. And I know it's an exaggeration. We don't live in those times, not in the West anymore. But that's the image that I'm getting is, what am I firmly established in? How do I define social comfort? What is social comfort? Is it acquiescence and compliance? Or is it me learning to feel comfortable as I raise my freak flag high, as I speak out of turn, as I answer the questions I'm being asked without distortion or filtering? Okay. So the word I got for that was temperance. And again, it's conscious choice, moment to moment. Who do I want to be in this? Okay. So that's kind of the overview for the Mercury, for the journey of Mercury through Capricorn, from Hermit to Temperance. Now, this retrograde is in direct opposition. It's amazing. Who of you experienced, I'll share my words because this is how I described it in a message to a friend. And it wasn't until I found the Sagittarius Mercury retrograde video that I wrote these words. That's why my happy just fell off a cliff. One day, great. Another day. And I was properly in my Lilith. She's coming through very dark because Lilith's getting to the end of her journey. She's 28, 29 degrees. So really turning up and jabbing that mother wound jabbing that dark feminine wound. Okay, I'll come to that in a minute. So the retrograde is in opposition to Lilith in Cancer, the home of family, the fourth house, foundation, base chakra. Wrapping up her journey in the fourth house of Cancer, family, hearth, home, the base chakra. Where do I belong? And who am I in this family system? How do I cultivate personal security in this? How would I describe personal security, and what does that feel like? Because 2,000 years of war, I'm not quite sure we know what personal security is. I'm not quite sure we really know what a strong base chakra feels like in its fullest power. So we look at Lilith in Cancer at 29 degrees. And what I've done, I've read for 29 and 30, because she's going to be coming to the end. 29 degrees of Cancer, a Greek muse weighing newborn twins in golden scales. Speaks to something very precious and precise. And pure. There's a purity, but it's like an alchemical purity. So I'm getting monoatomic gold here. Okay. The revelation of latent worth in all things through the power of creative imagination. Piercing beyond appearances, which to me is piercing the veil of illusion. And the word I got for that was revelation. So that might feel like some tower energy. That might feel like a bolt from the blue. That might feel like the uncovering of something that's been hidden in plain sight. Because if we're in the fourth house of family and home, we're surely with the ancestral home. We're surely with ancestral behavior and patterns. And your father and your grandfather were such and such. You come from a long line of such and such. Shoulds conformity, carrying on that karmic wheel. Not being rude, being the good child, all of that. And if we're talking about Lilith in Cancer, we are talking about the Dark Mother. This is the mother wound. And you could go back thousands of years with the mother wound, who's the first to get affected when the man is taken out of the family and sent to war. The embittered mother is a consequence of abandonment and the broken family system. And so this Greek muse weighing newborn twins in golden scales to reveal the latent worth in all things through the power of creative imagination. And that's giving me this I'm getting the words, the creative wheel of abundance, with this symbol. It's like it wants to balance on every axis. It wants to balance every axis and then spin. Yeah. Okay, so that's 29. 30 degrees of Cancer. A daughter of the American Revolution. The will and ability to maintain a social supremacy based on thoroughly established tradition. Inner or outer aristocracy. And here I get, sorry, with the 29 degrees, the weighing of newborn twins, I got the word revelation. And with this, I get the word establishment. And why not in Capricorn? A social supremacy based on thoroughly established traditions. Okay, are you with me so far? So, direct opposition to Lilith in Cancer and squaring Chiron in a cardinal sign. So it's a cardinal square at 11 degrees. So squaring Chiron at 11 of Aries and Jupiter at 1 degree of Aries. That's a lot of fire. So Chiron will be in Aries until July 2026, so there's no hurry when it moves into Taurus. Okay, so the Sabian symbols for 11 and 1 in Aries. The 11 degrees of Aries speaks to the ruler of a nation. The ruler of a nation. Fine stewardship of collective racial ideas. Good and necessary, but unimaginative conformity to standards. Idealization. The word I got for this was autocracy. One degree of Aries. A woman has risen out of the ocean. A seal is embracing her. Imagine that. Potentiality of selfhood. The individual is emerging from the collective and realizes self for the first time. And the word I get for that is individuation. So the feminine rising up out of the deep water speaks to the chalice, speaks to the emotions and the intuitions, the sensory perception. So the self is born in Aries at 1 degree, individuation. Also at the party of Capricorn is Pluto at 27 degrees. So Pluto triggers transformation. It's the soul transformer, Pluto, in the 10th house of profession, reputation, and social status. Pluto is a generational planet, so go global with this. It will work in the personal and the collective and the global. "27 degrees of Capricorn, the mountain pilgrimage." Just got the word Compostela. Necessary linking of above and below in the seeker's personal experience. Balanced dualism of subjective, objective life. This questions the whole idea of reality. And I've been talking about the existential shift, which we're absolutely in. And and more. There's more on that. Okay. So the word I get for that is rebalance. So Pluto will move out of Capricorn after its long journey into Aquarius on 23/3/23. Okay. Friday the 6th of January, there is the Cancer full moon at 16 degrees. Ouch. 16. Use and abuse. The Tower. Okay. 16 degrees of Cancer. A man studies a mandala in front of him with the help of a very ancient book. Underlying tendency to revert to root patterns of being, squaring oneself with everyday reality, control over life. And there's a nervousness coming through with these words now. So in the one hand, you've got the world of subjective, okay? I just spoke about with Pluto and Capricorn. Subjective or objective? Subjective. Sensory perception. The subjective mandala. Sensory perception. The subjective ancient book. Sensory perception. I would call the Sabian symbols book. Sensory perception, because the objective words are there, but through them is okay, I'm going to come out of that. I just punched through into the void there. There was nothing there. So through the objective words is the void. Control over life versus life. Sweep me up and take me away. Sweep me up and put me where I need to be. Easier said than done. I don't mean to make it sound like a Hallmark card. Okay. So the word I get for this, obviously, is the Tower. Okay. So recap, that's the Cancer full moon at 16 degrees, which is going to be opposite the retrograde. So we've got opposing energy there, some beautiful tensions coming out. And it's going to be trine, that's quite a good position. Trine Neptune in Pisces at 22 degrees. Oh, wow. Okay. 22 degrees of Pisces. This is linking into the Christmas Day Christ Mass reading. A prophet bringing down the new law from Mount Sinai. Man's success in meeting the challenge of a new order. Codification of new values. Holding oneself to highest standards. And the word I get here is choice, because this is full of seesaws and blind turns and misdirection and rebirth and new direction. "22 of Pisces. 22 is the master builder. Pisces is the cosmic water. This is God energy. This source. This is source energy coming in. Choice. And again, I could echo the subjective objective, because we've done the objective. That's what we've built into tradition. They are all the old Saturnian structures, Capricornian structures. That's all falling down. Pluto's been helping with that. What's coming in now? Speaking the other day about I was experiencing Saturn in a higher octave, because Saturn is going to move into Pisces. And when I was feeling into that energy, it felt like a really cool business manager energy. Which speaks to an evolution in the masculine archetype. Okay. All right. So 6th of Jan is the Cancer full moon, okay, which is in opposition to the Mercury retrograde and will be aspecting a fixed star. It's just one position in Capricorn during this period. So this fixed star is called Vega, and it's from the constellation Lyra. And it gave me some really energy. I don't know how to describe it. I wouldn't say I trust it. I'll read the words that I captured and see what else comes through. So, fixed star Vega will be at 15 degrees of Capricorn. Major Arcana number 15 is the card for Capricorn. It is the devil. So, without much context, I've just kind of captured words. Otherwise, I've been reading for an hour. There's lots on Vega. So, associated with the falling eagle. What country is associated with the eagle? Vega is the principal star in the constellation Lyra. The brightest fixed star of the northern sky has a Venus nature with a blend of Neptune and Mercury. The Babylonians called Vega the star of the Queen of Life. In a good configuration, Vega offers artistic talents, especially for music and acting, but also a liking for good living, eccentricity, and a debauched life. Speaks to art, science, and theft, fulfillment through the ego, exploitation, and masculine pride. It's gnarly energy. You're going to have to tread carefully with that one, 6th of Jan. So we go to 15 degrees of Capricorn. And it's actually 15 degrees and 19 arc minutes. So I've read for the 15th and the 16th symbol. 15 of Capricorn. In a hospital, the children's ward is filled with toys. The goodness of life in the tragic trials of first attempts at self-regeneration. Administered responsibility or escape. And here I got the energy of the word sabotage. Yeah. Oh, right. Right. This is where gatekeeper comes in. I think I've been speaking recently about gatekeeper energy and calling in a gatekeeper if you're not your own gatekeeper. Yeah. It's just confusion. It's just a confusing noise that I can hear. Okay, shut that down. So there's potential for sabotage. Now, in the house of self, that can be self-sabotage, absolutely, because we're in retrograde energy. And so there's this kind of revolving door energy, Mars retro as well in Gemini. I don't know how that aspects with this, but we have some significant retrograde energy at the moment. And there's so much potential to get drawn back into that conversation that you've had 58,000 times and don't really get anywhere with, or you have it again and tell yourself you're doing something different, but nothing changes. And until we make that shift and literally turn the mind in another direction to build new neuroconnectors, you know, muscle memory to get the mind moving in a different direction, we'll keep doing the same thing. So there is a real, I'm not enjoying this energy of Vega. It just feels tantalizing and dishonest in this context. And I also get something about if I say sickness and administered responsibility and hospital wards. I get something around there here. 16 degrees of Capricorn. School grounds filled with boys and girls in gym suits. Normal dependence upon physical stimulation or distraction, I get. Robust enthusiasm in approaching life's contests or immature impulsiveness. And the word I get here is integrity. So if we talk about dependence upon a physical stimulation, we're talking about an objective lifestyle. We're talking about an out there, something we can touch and feel rather than the inner mystery school, the inner mystery school. And autonomy. In the autonomy, we're less likely to get distracted by the machine, the distracting machine that feeds us, keep feeding us. So we become dependent upon it and don't realize we're actually suckling on a teat that's been engineered by the few for the many. This is all playing into this. Okay, so one fixed star, and we have 2 asteroids also in Capricorn. Okay, those 2 asteroids are Hygeia and Pholus. So we have Hygeia at 5 degrees of Cap and Pholus at 6 degrees of Cap. 5 degrees Capricorn. Indians, some rowing a canoe and others dancing a war dance in it. Mobilization of latent energies for determined self-exertion. Yeah. Obsession by elemental forces, violent awakening to reality. Who is Pholus? Did somebody ask? I'll tell you. Pull up a chair. Pholus is the centaur. I'm just saying. It's in Capricorn. Sidereal, it's in Sag. Pholus, the centaur, in Greek mythology, who unintentionally caused havoc. Pholus was the name given to a centaur within the tales of Greek mythology. Generally speaking, the centaurs were considered to be savages, but amongst their number were named 2 civilized individuals, Chiron and Pholus. Pholus and Chiron are known as the civilized centaurs, and Pholus is famous for a single encounter with Heracles, son of Zeus. Pholus was said to reside upon Mount Pholo. Yeah, I'm going to read you the abridged version. Right, abridged version. Pholus lived in a cave and invited And Heracles visited the cave. So Pholus invited him in and cooked a meal of meat. And Heracles said, "Got any wine?" So Pholus had in his possession a jar of wine crafted by Dionysus for Pholus's father, Silenus, who I believe was the god of wine or something. Okay. Opened the jar of wine, and the wine was excellent. And the aroma of the wine came out of the jar and travelled out of the cave and brought in marauding savages. Okay. So all the marauding wild centaurs came. Yeah. This is speaking to the debauchery, isn't it? Where was the debauchery? The debauchery is in Vega. Okay. So brought in all these savage centaurs, and Heracles stood up and grabbed his bow and started shooting arrows. And then he chased the savages out. In the meantime, Pholus had gone outside to see his fellow centaurs, savage or not, wounded or dead. And so he started arranging the bodies and preparing to bury them. In his arranging and preparation, he picked up one of the incoming arrows that had been fired at Heracles, picked it up and looked at it and accidentally dropped it, tipped down into his foot. And the arrow had been covered with the blood of the Lernaean Hydra. And so he poisoned and killed himself. Heracles returned and threw her a big state funeral. Okay, so the centaur, and the centaur speaks of two worlds, the human and the animal. Okay, so that could be the cortex and the reptile brain, or the gut. Could be the head and the gut, but two worlds. And all the way through this, they're talking about choice and balance, rebalance, making the choice. Okay, so the centaur is the animal self and the higher self, or the human self. Okay. So, who is Hygeia? I've spoken about Hygeia before. She was kicking around November, was it? The Sag moon or something? Hygeia was the daughter of Asclepius, Ophiuchus, and is linked to health, cleanliness, and hygiene. This has got COVID written all over it. Ophiuchus, Asclepius, the god of medicine, whose symbol of a single snake entwined around a staff adorns ambulances the world over. Okay. Yeah, that's it. It's all about self-care and medicine. That completes, no, it doesn't at all. Right. Okay, so we've done Hygeia and Pholus. Let's look at the Sabian symbols for the 5 and 6 of Capricorn. 5 degrees of Capricorn. Oh, I've done it. Violent awakening to reality. Indians, some rowing a canoe, others dancing a war dance. Mobilization of latent energies for determined self-exertion. Obsession by elemental forces. Violent awakening to reality. So the word I got for that was activating. 6 degrees of Cap. 10 logs lie under an archway. Leading to darker woods. limitlessness of experience as man moves from completion to ever greater fulfillment. Keenness is knowing, thoroughness. And the word I got for this was gnosis, to know thyself, to know one's self. As man moves from completion to ever greater fulfillment. Okay, so this is speaking to the end of a major life cycle. Okay, so I've just gathered some words up into an overview. Generally, what I was getting when I was doing these notes were energies around karmic contracts, karmic ties, karmic entanglements, timelines, space and time, shadows and reflections, family and the family wound, getting sucked back into a revolving door of old emotions, or being able to spin out into the unknown. That's that completion to ever greater fulfillment, is to spin out. Beware the temptation to perpetuate the unhealed wound, Chiron. Some sensual and deceptive energies in the mix. It's easy to be seduced by lies and empty promises. Gaslighting and narcissism look to self-deception in that old devil energy. Individuation will and must trigger its shadow self so you can see it and rebalance it. The shadow self of the imposter and aloneness, my self-worth is not your self-worth. So it's coming into that authenticity. Okay. So the words I ended up with, what I've done is I've just captured all the words that I ended up with, and they are on a separate piece of paper in front of me. And they are Hermit, Temperance, Revelation, Establishment, Autocracy, Individuation, Rebalance, Tower, Choice, Sabotage, Integrity, Activating, Gnosis, Mastery. And I'm just going to pause this while I put that light on. Bear with me. Okay, and I've missed 2 dates. So to wrap up the speaking bit, 2 dates, 9th of January, Lilith will complete her journey in Cancer and she'll move into Leo. 12th of January, Mars goes direct after its 74-day retrograde in Gemini. Okay, Mars then moves into Cancer. On the 25th of March, 2023. Oh, there's another reading in there's a whole reading in that. Okay, yeah, I've just seen that word. I was just skimming through the Hygeia piece, and one of the words that jumped out of me was plague, and 800,000 died. That was Athens years ago. Notes them. Now, so what I've done is I've put on the desk in front of me a piece of paper with those pink words printed out. And onto that piece of paper, I've drawn 2 sentence deck cards. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4 Shaman Oracle cards and an underlying card. And we're going to begin now and see where we go. Oh, ooh. All right, yeah. Start with the sentences. Okay. So this is speaking to projection and transference. Could it be the thing in you I dislike is the thing in me I can't or won't look at? That's going to be the pivot point of whether or not you go around the revolving door again or whether you spin out. And it's got to be to birth a new conversation. In that moment, it needs a new sentence. Something more original than stuff you. Okay, could it be the thing in you I dislike is the thing in me I can't or won't look at? And the other sentence is, what do I keep pulling towards me? What keeps me spinning in this revolving retrograde door? Why did I not stand up for myself at the Christmas table? It's just come in. I had the words and I didn't speak them. Honestly, I can't make this up. Okay. Oh, lordy, lordy. Time Master, very Capricornian, very Saturnian. I think he came out in one of this. He came out recently. He came out for the lifting of the restriction of time and space. There is something much bigger going on here. Okay, right, look, listen, stuff it. I'm going to do it. So I recorded those 5 star seed messages exactly 5 days before Christmas Day. And it took me 3 days to record 5 messages. And so by the time the Christ Mass message was recorded, it was the 23rd. On the 24th, my world exploded and I was given a download that scared me shitless. Right? But made perfect sense, like everything fell into place when I got this. If I could go back through my journal for the last 6 months and tell you how I've been getting these messages and ignoring them because it's too big. Do you remember I said, I think it was in a recent video, I was speaking to my higher self and I said, have you any idea what you're asking me to let go of? But I'm going to lean on this archetype. The message that I got was, it is the end of this simulation. Feels good, actually. The end of a simulation. The end of an experience. The lifting of the restriction of time and space. Wow. Okay. Second card. 2023 is a 7-year. Okay. The Greek muse weighs twins in golden scales. And there's a question in here. And the question is to hold a question. It's to hold the question of, what are we doing to our younger generation? What are we doing to the light that they're bringing in? Here's the devious. the position of this card is sitting between the third and the fourth card. And it's like, those are the three cards. Without that, have got this beautiful motion and flow. The energy just goes straight through. The third card is the crow, and the crow is looking towards the child. Okay. So, if I can do this. So it looks like this. But in comes the coyote between the child and the crow. Go, I'll sort you out. Want to buy a watch? It's that kind of energy. Now you listen to me. Don't look at the crow. I know the crow's looking at you. Don't look at that. Look at me. Look into my eyes. So that's English sketch show. Look straight at me. And 12 does speak to personal authority. It's another 12 energy. We've got a 13 energy, and both of these questions add up to 13. And 13 is harmonizing conflict. It's the opposition of conflict. It's literally the masculine and the feminine. That is the conflict on the planet, the masculine and the feminine. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull this card out because I want to build a nice grid of energy, and I'm going to put him over here. We're going to speak to him in a bit. The underlying energy there was a message here, wasn't there, about awakening. Violent awakening to reality. This is the Hygeia energy. But this is the underlying energy for the whole reading. I want to put this out to you guys. There's a sentence in this Hygeia and Pholus piece, in the 5 degrees of Cat, which is the Hygeia piece. And this sentence, obsession by elemental forces. And I'm really going to invite you to say anything. Drop it in the comments. Because I've been staring into that and I can't get through that sentence. Obsession by elemental forces. What do you get from that? Okay, so there's an elemental force, lightning. See what comes out. Let's see what comes out. And I'm going to go Black Moon Astrology. Yeah. Okay, let's speak to the retrograding Capricorn. Let's go from the top. Thank you. Okay. So we have Venus, and there is an exact Venus-Pluto conjunction tomorrow. Let's speak to that. Let's speak to the Venus-Pluto conjunction, please. That needs to be heard. What's it going to pull up? All right. Third house, Gemini. Mars retrograde in Gemini. Messages. Uranus is definitely in the house. Uranus on that 9. 27, 9 and 9. Moon, Sol is speaking straight to Pluto. And Libra, I balance. Bear with me. What's Libra doing? Not a lot. Nothing. Interesting. Ah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Bear with me. Go and get yourself a cuppa. I'll be a minute. Aries. Ah, right. Yeah, balance, because straight across the wheel from Libra is what's happening in Aries. There's quite a lot happening in Aries. And indeed, Aries will be preparing for a nodal shift next July. So we'll be on the Aries-Libra axis. All right, what's this telling me? What is this telling me? Venus, messages, genius. Moon. I get the words go within to get without. I want a card for I want to speak to Venus. I don't know what she's trying to say. No. I know what it is. Just got it. It's this. Could it be the thing in you I cannot look at? Oh, the thing in you I dislike is the thing in me I can't or won't look at. And what this is speaking to is love, messages that set you apart from the crowd, or that set that apart from the crowd, that are coming from soul level and that need balancing, or how we handle. Is this about how we handle our genius? And I guess with Venus and Pluto in conjunction, Pluto wants to raise the soul up from the depths. It wants to transform at a soul level. And contained within the soul are the seeds of time and space, the child, and the mystery in the 13 of the crow. Got it. Thank you. And how do we balance that? How do we balance that incoming message? Okay, let me be a live example. I have sat on that end of a simulation message for a week. I have sat on that for a week. And I've had to balance the energy of it because it came in with so much more, and it was just, I don't have a word. I don't have a word. Okay. It's big. Yes, there's a real challenge here. And what have we got at 22 of Pisces? That is going to be, that could turn your intuition up to 10. And it's okay getting it. What are you going to do with it? Okay. I want to speak to the coyote, and I'm going to go to the. Wow, this is really interesting. Okay. There's a conversation here, right? So we've got a coyote coming in with a bit of shady energy, and his messages are speaking to building blocks for a deep knowing, fatedness, and a higher power. Great, I hear you say. Well, that's all good. So coyote's coming in to support building blocks. So that's that Saturnian energy. Well, how are you going to build it? Well, it took me 6 hours to build this morning, to build this. How are you going to build it? What's your deep knowing? How do you know it? Subjective, objective. Trusting the fates, trusting the field of the energy. Higher power, tuning into your higher self. Oh, no, 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 no. That's not for you. That's not for you. Yeah, I hear all of that. That's wonderful. That's great. Messages. Not for you. Check your solar plexus in any conversations like that, where you're bringing through genius. Check any conversation like that. I'm going to put you there, you monster, you little tinker. And very often, you know, when we meet a roadblock, did I see roadblock? When we meet a roadblock, it's so that we can birth tenacity, stubbornness, even persistence, perseverance. It's so that we can birth all of that. Or we could go back into the revolving door and back into that, the old sad program of how this has never worked before. Tried and tried, give up. Try a different way. Some beautiful challenges in here. Right, yeah. Do you know what? I want to go to the, I don't remember what they're called. We'll put them the Sea Beasties Oracle. I'm going to make a list of my favorite decks. I've started. Let's move out Mercury Retrograde and the space between 2022 and 2023. Yeah, absolutely. These cards are big. You have something no one else has that makes you who you are. Stop comparing yourself to others and allow your uniqueness to shine through. 33. That's Christos energy. That's the baby weighed on the gold scale. It's the purification. It's a soul purification. Magical blessings and miracles are occurring in your life. All your prayers are answered now. The lifting of the restriction of time and space, and the healing of any cynicism around that sentence. Okay. So they're coming in to support the coyote's message before he blocked the higher power. To keep going to the higher power. Yeah. All right. Now I think we're getting to the end of it now. Are there any other cards that want to come out of the mystical shaman deck? Okay, I don't want all of those. What are you doing? Yeah, I want that one. Yeah. That's the Vega energy, January the 6th. That's the Vega energy, the smoky mirror. Love it. This is like harness ancient elements, be lightning, be lightning. Oh, but be lightning. Oh, wow. Terrifying feminine force. There's a message here about keeping something under the surface. It's to do with inner knowing. It's to do with wisdom. Huh. Build in a darkened room. Yeah, I understand that. And what that will help with, actually, is the codependency that we can sometimes find ourselves in when we go to others. What do you think of this? What do you think what do you think of it? And what that does is that actually disables the switch in us that we flick on and go, I just know. Oh, but what if? Well, so be it. I just know. Yeah. Yeah, I just know. Solar plexus, Aries, first house, sunshine, gold. I'm weighing my soul. That's what it is. We got Horus through, didn't we? The weighing of the soul. Weighing of the soul. I'm dancing around something else. Yeah. Weighing of the soul. What have we learned in this simulation? And like Einstein once said, if you understand quantum mechanics, none of this is real. All right, my darlings, I'm going to finish with an abundance card, and then I'm going to love you and leave you as you go and get yourselves ready for your New Year celebration, however you do it, if you do it. Okay. I'll just show that quickly. Okay. Now, we've been doing a lot of work around individuation, separating, disentangling, standing on our own 2 feet. And it's not always easy, because sometimes it literally looks like the end of a relationship. And it's not always easy. And it depends which energy we approach grief at. If we approach grief in the duality of the coyote, you can, you can't, you're right, you're wrong, trickster energy, then we're not going to be able to learn and rise. But if we come at grief through the energy of the mystic and innocence and ask that question, what did I learn in this experience? Where is it hurting me? Ownership, and ownership creates detachment from the drama. When you detach from the drama, you can take the lesson and transmute it. Rebirth, rebirth, all the time. It's the purification. Grief and detachment. I might think of a better title. Okay, people. I hope that brought you something. I absolutely loved this process and playing with the Sabian symbols. It's given me a clearer understanding of this Mercury retrograde. So I wish you a wonderful retrograde, lots of learning and twists and turns and opportunities. Okay, I'm going to wish you a very happy new year, even though it isn't really New Year. That comes in spring. It's going to be a big one. But I'll leave you with my love as always, and take care. I'll see you on the other side. Bye.